At a quiet shelter on the edge of town, 3 tiny puppies huddled together, until one is suddenly taken behind a locked door. No goodbye, no explanation, just silence. The 2 left behind stare through the cold metal bars. And then, something in them changes. What starts as heartbreak becomes something no one expected. These puppies don't stay quiet. They don't just wait. And what they discover beyond that door was never meant to be seen. One woman, a traveling rescuer, is about to stumble into something much darker than neglect. Something hidden deep in the woods where the weak are discarded and no one asks questions. How far will they go to save the one they love? And when the truth finally comes out, will it be too late? Can the smallest voices take down something this big? Before we dive in, drop your name or city in the comments. It reminds me that behind every view is a real heartbeat. The rain drummed against the metal roof of Bramble County Shelter, creating a hollow echo throughout the building's worn corridors. Water dripped through small cracks in the ceiling, forming puddles on the concrete floor. The shelter, located on the outskirts of rural Georgia, had seen better days. Peeling paint, rusty cage doors, and flickering fluorescent lights told the story of years of neglect. In one of the many cages lining the walls, 3 German Shepherd puppies huddled together for warmth and comfort. Finn, the strongest of the litter, positioned himself protectively around his siblings. His black and tan coat was sleek, and his alert ears picked up every sound in the building. Next to him, Hazel pressed close, her lighter fur mixing with his as she watched the shelter staff hurry past with worried eyes. Between them lay Bo, the smallest of the 3. Despite being the runt of the litter, his soulful eyes held a gentle spirit that made him special to his siblings. He snuggled deeper into the warmth of his brother and sister, trying to suppress a small cough that had been bothering him since morning. The shelter staff moved quickly through the corridors, their footsteps echoing off the concrete walls. None of them stopped to look at the animals. They kept their eyes down, focusing only on their tasks. Their rushed movements and averted gazes created an atmosphere of unease that even the puppies could sense. Bo's cough grew worse as the morning wore on. Each time it came, Hazel would nose him gently, while Finn stood guard at the front of their cage. The small pup's body shook with each bout, and his usual playful energy seemed to fade. The sound of heavy footsteps approaching made all 3 puppies look up. Lyle Carter, the shelter manager, stood before their cage, his tall frame casting a shadow over them. His pressed uniform and stern expression gave him an air of authority that made even Finn shrink back slightly. Behind him, a staff member in scrubs waited nervously. "That one," Lyle said, pointing at Bo. "We can't risk having sick animals contaminate the others. Take him to isolation immediately." The staff member hesitated for a moment before reaching into the cage. Bo, weak and trusting, didn't resist as he was lifted away from his siblings. Finn barked sharply, jumping up against the cage door, while Hazel whimpered, her eyes following her brother's retreating form. "But sir," the staff member started to say, "it might just be a minor cold. We follow protocol here." Lyle cut them off, his voice leaving no room for argument. "Isolation for sick animals, no exceptions." Bo looked back over the staff member's shoulder, his eyes meeting those of his siblings one last time, before he disappeared through a heavy door at the end of the corridor. The sound of that door closing echoed through the shelter like a final judgment. Hazel collapsed into soft, heartbroken whimpers, pressing herself against the back of the cage. Finn continued to stand at attention, his eyes fixed on the door where Bo had vanished. His ears twitched at every sound, hoping to catch some sign of his brother's return. The rain continued to fall outside, but inside the shelter, a different kind of darkness had settled over the German Shepherd puppy's cage. Where there had been 3, now only 2 remained, their small world suddenly feeling much emptier and colder without their brother's presence. Throughout the rest of the day, shelter volunteers and staff members continued their hurried routines, walking past the cage where Finn and Hazel waited. None of them responded to Hazel's soft cries or Finn's vigilant stance. The siblings huddled closer together, their bodies touching for comfort, but the space where Bo should have been remained painfully empty. As evening approached and the storm outside grew stronger, Finn and Hazel lay close together in their cage, their eyes still fixed on the door through which their brother had disappeared. The uncertainty of Beau's fate weighed heavily on them both, and the comfort they usually found in each other's presence couldn't fully ease the ache of their brother's absence. The setting sun cast long shadows through the shelter windows as evening settled in. The earlier storm had passed, leaving behind a heavy silence, broken only by the occasional whimper or bark. In their cage, Finn and Hazel felt the absence of their brother Beau like a physical ache. Hazel lay curled in the corner, her food bowl untouched since morning. A kind volunteer had left fresh kibble, but she turned her head away, too worried about Beau to eat. Her usual bright eyes had grown dull with sadness, and she barely responded when the shelter staff passed by. Finn paced their small enclosure, his black and tan coat bristling with nervous energy. His keen ears picked up fragments of whispered conversations between volunteers in the corridor. 3 more this week, one volunteer murmured to another as they walked past. All declared unfit on Lyle's orders. "It doesn't seem right," the second volunteer replied, their voice heavy with concern. "These dogs looked perfectly healthy to me." "Shh," the first one warned. "You know how strict Lyle is about following his protocols?" Finn's ears perked up at their words, a low growl rumbling in his chest. He'd always been the protective one, the strongest of the litter, and now his instincts screamed that something was terribly wrong. He pressed his nose against the cage bars, trying to catch any trace of Beau's scent from the direction he'd been taken. As night fell, the fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting harsh shadows across the concrete floor. The evening shift was smaller, with only 2 staff members making their final rounds. They moved quickly, eager to finish their tasks and head home. Suddenly, the lights flickered once, twice, and then plunged the shelter into complete darkness. The power outage caught everyone off guard, prompting startled yelps from some of the dogs. Emergency lights kicked in, bathing the corridors in a dim red glow. "Just great," a staff member grumbled, fumbling with a flashlight. "Let's hurry up and finish the evening cleanup." In their haste to complete their duties in the dark, the worker didn't notice that the latch on Finn and Hazel's cage hadn't clicked fully into place. The metal tongue hung loose, creating a small gap that wouldn't have been visible even in full light. Finn noticed immediately. He watched the distracted staff member move away, then nudged the cage door with his nose. It shifted slightly. His heart began to race. This was their chance to find Beau. He turned to Hazel, who had lifted her head at the sudden darkness. "Come on," he whined softly, pushing against the door again. Hazel hesitated, fear evident in her eyes, but the thought of finding their brother gave her courage. She rose shakily to her feet and joined Finn at the cage door. Together, they pushed against the metal barrier. With each nudge, the gap widened until finally, the door swung open just enough for them to squeeze through. Finn went first, his protective instincts making him check for any danger before signaling Hazel to follow. The emergency lights cast eerie shadows as the puppies crept along the corridor. Their paw pads made soft clicking sounds against the concrete floor, but the noise was masked by the general commotion of the power outage. Staff members' voices echoed from distant corners of the building, all focused on dealing with the blackout. Finn led the way, his nose working overtime to pick up Beau's scent trail. The familiar smell of their brother was faint, but detectable, leading them toward the heavy door they'd seen him disappear through earlier. Hazel stayed close behind him, her body trembling with a mixture of fear and determination. They passed cage after cage of dogs, some sleeping, others watching their progress with curious eyes. None made a sound to alert the staff. It was as if they understood the importance of the puppies' mission. The trail led them to a side door that had been left slightly ajar by a staff member rushing to check the circuit breakers. Cool night air swept in through the gap, carrying with it the lingering scent of rain and their brother. Finn and Hazel exchanged a look. They had never been outside the shelter before, and the unknown territory ahead was frightening. But the thought of Beau, alone and possibly in danger, strengthened their resolve. Without further hesitation, they slipped through the door and into the darkness beyond. The night air felt strange against their fur as they emerged into a world much bigger than they had ever known. The moon peeked through scattered clouds, providing just enough light to see by. Bo's scent grew stronger in the fresh air, pulling them forward into the unknown. They paused at the edge of the shelter's property, their small forms silhouetted against the building's dark outline. Behind them, they could hear voices raising in confusion as the power remained out. Ahead lay a vast darkness filled with unfamiliar sounds and smells, but somewhere in that darkness was their brother, and that was all that mattered. Side by side, the two puppies took their first steps away from the only home they'd ever known, driven by love and loyalty to find their missing sibling. The night enveloped them as they disappeared into the shadows, leaving behind the shelter and its secrets. The rain fell in heavy sheets as Finn and Hazel made their way through unfamiliar territory. Their paws sank into mud, and their fur grew heavy with water, but they pressed on, following the fading scent of their brother. Lightning flashed overhead, illuminating their path through the dense woods. "I'm scared," Hazel whimpered, pressing closer to her brother as thunder rumbled above them. Finn nudged her gently. Though he was just as frightened, he knew they couldn't stop. Bo's scent, though faint, was still there, pulling them forward through the darkness. They encountered their first obstacle, a tall chain-link fence. Finn's keen eyes spotted a hole near the bottom, partially hidden by overgrown weeds. He guided Hazel toward it, and they squeezed through, their wet fur catching on the rusty metal. The terrain grew wilder as they ventured deeper into the woods. Thorny bushes grabbed at their fur, and fallen branches blocked their path. Their small bodies struggled against the elements, but determination drove them forward. Every few steps, Finn would pause, nose raised to the air, making sure they hadn't lost Bo's trail. After what felt like hours of walking, the trees began to thin. Through the curtain of rain, they spotted a dark shape, an old trailer, partially hidden among the trees. Its metal sides were rusted, and broken windows gaped like empty eyes. Bo's scent grew stronger here, leading directly to this forbidding structure. Hazel hesitated at the edge of the clearing. "Are you sure he's in there?" Finn sniffed the air again, more certain than ever. Their brother's scent was mixed with something else, something cold and frightening. They circled the trailer until they found a way in through a damaged vent near the ground. Inside, darkness pressed around them like a heavy blanket. The air was stale and carried the musty smell of abandonment. Their paws made soft sounds on the dirty floor as they moved forward, guided by Bo's strengthening scent. Lightning flashed outside, sending light through the broken windows. In that brief moment, they saw what surrounded them. Stacks of empty cages lined the walls, some rusted through, others still intact but covered in cobwebs. This place had held many animals before, but now it felt like a grave. A weak whimper caught their attention. There, in the furthest corner, they found a large metal crate. Inside, curled into a tight ball, was Bo. Their brother's eyes were closed, his breathing shallow and labored. He looked smaller than ever, his fur dull and matted. "Bo!" Hazel cried out, pressing herself against the crate's bars. "Wake up! Please, wake up!" Bo's eyes fluttered open at the sound of his sister's voice. "Hazel? Finn?" His voice was barely a whisper. "How did you find me?" Finn examined the crate's latch. It was similar to the one on their shelter cage, but stronger. They couldn't open it themselves. They needed help. Looking around the trailer, he saw more evidence of its dark purpose. Empty food bags, worn leashes, and broken collars littered the floor. This was where unwanted animals were brought to be forgotten. A surge of protective anger filled Finn's chest. He threw his head back and barked, loud, sharp sounds that echoed through the empty trailer and into the night. Again and again he barked, putting all his fear, love, and desperation into each cry. Hazel joined him, her higher-pitched voice harmonizing with his deeper one. Their combined voices rose above the storm, carrying through the trees and into the darkness beyond. They barked until their throats were raw, hoping against hope that someone, anyone, would hear them and come to help. Between barks, Hazel pressed close to Beau's crate, offering what warmth and comfort she could through the metal bars. "Hold on," she whispered to him. "Just hold on. We found you, and we're not leaving without you." Beau managed a weak thump of his tail, his eyes fixed on his siblings with trust and relief. He was no longer alone in the darkness, and that seemed to give him strength. The three puppies huddled together as close as the crate would allow, their love for each other the only warmth in that cold, dark place. Finn continued to bark, his voice carrying their desperate plea for help into the stormy night. They had found their brother, but now they needed someone to hear them, someone to come and break the chains that held him. Their voices rose together, piercing the darkness, refusing to be silenced until help arrived. The barking echoed through the woods, carrying over the patter of rain. Harper Ellison sat up in her camping chair, pushing aside the worn paperback she'd been reading under her RV's awning. Her trained ear recognized the desperation in those sounds. Not the typical chorus of coyotes or wandering strays, but something more urgent. She grabbed her heavy-duty flashlight and rescue vest, muscle memory from years on the road taking over. The barking grew clearer as she followed it deeper into the woods, her boots squelching in the mud. Harper moved with purpose, ducking under low branches and pushing through thorny undergrowth. The beam of her flashlight caught something metallic through the trees. An old trailer, practically hidden by overgrown vegetation. Her heart sank. In her 15 years of animal rescue work, hidden structures like this usually meant something sinister. The barking was coming from inside. Harper approached cautiously, scanning the area with her flashlight. No lights, no vehicles, no signs of current human activity. She found a door on the side, secured with a rusty padlock. The sound of scratching and whimpering came from within. "Hold on in there," she called out softly. Years of experience had taught her to come prepared. She pulled out her bolt cutters, a constant companion in her line of work. The padlock gave way with a sharp snap. The door creaked open, revealing a sight that made her stomach turn. Cages lined the walls, most empty but bearing silent testimony to past occupants. Her flashlight beam caught 3 pairs of eyes, 2 German Shepherd puppies standing free, and a third, smaller one locked in a crate. "Hey there, sweethearts," Harper said gently, keeping her voice calm despite her rising anger. The 3 puppies approached her cautiously, their tails giving tentative wags. The one in the crate barely lifted its head. Working quickly, Harper documented everything with her phone camera: the cages, the conditions, the location. She'd seen enough suspicious shelter operations to know this evidence might be crucial later. The bolt cutters made quick work of the crate's lock, and she carefully lifted out the weak puppy. "You're safe now," she whispered, cradling him close. His body felt too light, his breathing shallow. The other 2 puppies pressed against her legs, unwilling to leave their sibling. They were clearly a family. Harper's mind raced as she hurried back to her RV, the puppies following closely. The nearest vet she trusted was in Oak Ridge County, nearly 2 hours away, but this little one needed help immediately. She settled the sick puppy on a blanket in her passenger seat, while his siblings huddled close in a secure crate behind. As she drove through the rain-slicked night, Harper's trained eye assessed the puppy's condition. The 2 stronger ones showed signs of recent shelter care, cleanish fur, basic health, but the small one's deterioration suggested deliberate neglect. This wasn't a simple case of abandonment. The sick puppy, she'd started thinking of him as Beau after reading his worn collar, drifted in and out of consciousness during the drive. His siblings whined softly from their crate, and Harper kept up a steady stream of gentle reassurance. "Just hold on, little one," she murmured, one hand stroking his fur at red lights. "We're getting you help." The all-night veterinary clinic's lights were a welcome sight. Harper had called ahead, and Dr. Martinez was waiting at the door. She quickly explained the situation as they rushed Beau into examination. "Severe dehydration, possible pneumonia." Dr. Martinez said, efficiently hooking up IV fluids. "Where did you find them?" Harper described the trailer while keeping one eye on the other puppies, who refused to leave their brother's side. As she talked, she scrolled through the photos on her phone, a disturbing pattern emerging. The trailer had been carefully hidden but regularly used, worn paths in the undergrowth, recent tire tracks despite the rusty exterior, fresh garbage among the old. "I've seen 3 cases of mysterious shelter deaths in Bramble County this month alone," Dr. Martinez said quietly, checking Beau's vitals. "Always the ones deemed unfit for adoption." Harper's jaw tightened. She'd suspected something like this. Rural shelters with unusually high disposal rates, always with perfectly reasonable explanations. But now she had evidence, a hidden location, a systematic operation, and 3 living witnesses. While Beau received treatment, Harper began organizing her documentation. She noted the trailer's GPS coordinates, photographed the puppy's shelter tags, and started a detailed timeline of events. Years of animal rescue work had taught her the importance of thorough documentation when building a case. The other puppies, their tags identified them as Finn and Hazel, stayed close to their brother, offering comfort through their presence. Their loyalty touched Harper's heart while strengthening her resolve. Someone had tried to dispose of these puppies, counting on them to disappear without a trace. Instead, they'd survived through love and determination, leading her to uncover what looked increasingly like an organized operation of cruelty. As she watched Beau's breathing ease under treatment, Harper continued making notes. This wasn't over. It was just the beginning of exposing whatever was happening in Bramble County. 3 days after rescuing the puppies, Harper sat at her RV's small dining table, surrounded by papers and her laptop. Beau was curled up in a nearby bed, steadily recovering under Dr. Martinez's care. Finn and Hazel dozed nearby, never straying far from their brother. Harper rubbed her tired eyes as she examined another set of shelter records. Something wasn't adding up. The official euthanasia logs from Bramble County Shelter showed surprisingly low numbers, too low for a rural facility of that size. But the intake numbers didn't match the adoption rates either. Dogs were vanishing without paperwork. Her phone buzzed with a text from Maria Chen, a former shelter employee she'd tracked down yesterday. "Can meet now. Coffee shop on Oak Street." 20 minutes later, Harper sat across from a nervous-looking woman in her late 40s, still wearing scrubs from her new veterinary assistant job. Maria's hands trembled slightly as she wrapped them around her coffee cup. "I worked there for 8 years," Maria said quietly, glancing around the nearly empty cafe. Things changed when Lyle Carter took over 3 years ago. At first it was just cutting corners, fewer medical checks, rushed assessments, then dogs started disappearing. Harper leaned forward. "What do you mean, disappearing?" Lyle would declare them unfit for adoption, usually the purebreds or designer mixes. The paperwork would say euthanasia, but... Maria swallowed hard. "I never saw the bodies. Then I found transaction records in the office one night. Large cash deposits that didn't match our books." Harper pulled out her phone, showing Maria photos of the trailer. "Does this look familiar?" Maria's face paled. "That's the holding place. Lyle called it temporary overflow housing. I quit after I followed him there one night and saw him loading dogs into an unmarked van. He claimed they were being transferred to another shelter, but the paperwork was clearly fake." Back in her RV, Harper began connecting the dots. She created a spreadsheet tracking the missing dogs against Lyle's financial records, which she'd obtained through public records requests. A pattern emerged: regular cash deposits following each group of euthanized dogs, always purebred or designer breeds. Beau whimpered softly in his sleep, and Harper reached down to stroke his head. Looking at his shelter intake form, something caught her eye. His medical assessment noted chronic respiratory issues, recommended euthanasia. But Dr. Martinez had found only a minor, treatable upper respiratory infection. "He wasn't meant for euthanasia at all, was he, buddy?" Harper murmured. "You were inventory." Her research revealed similar cases across 3 counties. shelters with suspicious numbers and missing dogs, all connected to facilities where Lyle Carter had worked or consulted. The trail of falsified documents and hidden money pointed to an organized operation trafficking rescue dogs to illegal buyers. A sharp knock on her RV door made Harper jump. Through the window, she saw a police cruiser parked nearby. Her heart raced until she recognized Officer Sarah Torres, a trusted contact from previous cases. "Harper, you need to be careful," Sarah said after coming inside. "Lyle Carter filed a report claiming you stole 3 dogs from his shelter. He's got people looking for you." Harper showed Sarah her evidence, the documented trailer, the mismatched records, Maria's statement, and the pattern of suspicious transactions. "Those puppies weren't stolen, they escaped, and look what they led me to." Sarah examined the documents, her expression growing grave. "This is bigger than local jurisdiction. Have you contacted the state investigators?" "Not yet. I needed more proof first." Harper gestured to her laptop. "I've been tracking similar patterns in other counties. Lyle's operation isn't just about cutting corners. It's organized trafficking disguised as shelter management." The officer nodded slowly. "Make copies of everything. I'll help you get this to the right people, but move carefully. Lyle has friends in the county administration." Later that evening, as Harper finished organizing her evidence, she heard vehicles approaching. Through her RV's window, she spotted Lyle Carter's distinctive truck pulling up to the veterinary clinic's parking lot where she was stationed. Moving quickly, Harper secured the puppies in their travel crates and backed her evidence files up to a secure cloud drive. She sent urgent texts to both Sarah and Dr. Martinez then started her RV's engine. As she pulled out of the parking lot, she saw Lyle entering the clinic's front door. Harper drove carefully, taking back roads to avoid being followed. In her rearview mirror, Finn and Hazel watched attentively while Bo slept peacefully, unaware of the growing confrontation his rescue had sparked. Their existence was proof of Lyle's operation, living evidence of a system that had marked them as merchandise rather than lives worth saving. With each mile that carried them further from Bramble County, Harper's determination grew stronger. The evidence was clear, the pattern undeniable. Now it was time to make sure Lyle Carter and his network faced justice for treating desperate animals as nothing more than inventory to be sold. The local news vans clustered outside the Bramble County shelter like vultures, their satellite dishes reaching toward the gray morning sky. Lyle Carter stood at a podium, his pressed uniform gleaming under the camera lights. "This is a clear case of criminal trespassing and theft," he declared, his voice carrying across the crowd of reporters. "Harper Ellison broke into private property and stole 3 animals scheduled for proper medical evaluation. Her actions put these puppies at risk and violated multiple shelter protocols." Inside her RV parked 20 miles away, Harper watched the press conference on her laptop, while Bo slept peacefully in his crate. Finn and Hazel curled protectively around him. Her phone buzzed with another message from the county attorney, the 3rd warning of legal action that morning. "He's trying to control the narrative," said Maria, the former shelter employee, who sat across from Harper at the small dining table. "That's what he does, twists everything to look legitimate on paper. Well, 2 can play that game." Harper pulled out a thick folder of documents. "Every falsified record, every mismatched euthanasia report, every suspicious cash deposit, it's all here. We just need help connecting it to the bigger picture." As if on cue, a knock sounded at the RV door. Lisa Chen, an investigator from the Regional Animal Rights Coalition, stepped inside. Her eyes immediately went to the 3 puppies. "So these are our star witnesses," Lisa said, kneeling to examine Bo's medical charts. "Minor respiratory infection marked as chronic illness requiring euthanasia. Classic redirect tactic." Maria nodded. "I saw it hundreds of times. Purebreds and designer breeds would come in, get flagged for minor issues, then disappear. The paperwork always said euthanasia, but the bodies never showed up in our disposal logs. Because they were being sold." Harper finished. "How many other shelters have similar patterns?" Lisa pulled out her tablet, bringing up a map dotted with red markers. "We've identified suspicious activity at 12 facilities across 3 states. All have connections to Lyle Carter, either through direct employment or consulting work. The same pattern repeats: inflated euthanasia numbers, missing disposal records, and large cash deposits following each batch of disposed animals. Another legal threat pinged Harper's phone. She ignored it, focusing instead on the documents spread before them. "We need to move quickly. Lyle's already trying to discredit me and shut this down." "Let him try," Lisa said firmly. "Every threat he makes, every public statement, it's all just more evidence of obstruction. Meanwhile, we're building a rock-solid case." They worked through the afternoon, organizing evidence and cross-referencing records. Maria identified key dates and transactions, while Lisa mapped connections between facilities. Harper documented everything, creating backup copies of files and securing them in multiple locations. From their crate, Finn watched the activity intently, his ears perked forward. Hazel stayed close to Bo, offering comfort whenever he stirred. Their unwavering bond touched Harper's heart. These puppies had risked everything to save their brother, and in doing so, they'd exposed a system of cruelty hiding behind paperwork and protocols. "Look at this," Maria said suddenly, pointing to a series of dates. "Every major cash deposit lines up with transport dates to these 3 locations. They're not just selling to private buyers, they're supplying other facilities." Lisa leaned in, her expression grim. "Corrupt shelters working together, moving animals through the system like inventory. They probably justify it as networking or transfer partnerships. But the money trail tells the real story," Harper added. She reached for another file, but knocked over her coffee cup. Before it could spill on their documents, Finn barked sharply, making them all jump and catching the cup before it tipped completely. "Good boy," Harper said, retrieving the cup. "Always watching out for others, aren't you?" Maria smiled sadly. "That's why Lyle marked him for removal too. Dogs that show too much awareness, too much loyalty, they're harder to control, harder to move through the system without questions. Then it's fitting they're the ones who helped expose everything." Lisa began packing up her files. "I'm taking this to our legal team tonight. With the evidence we've compiled, plus Maria's testimony and the physical proof from that trailer, we can push for a full investigation." Harper's phone rang. Officer Sarah Torres calling with an update. "The state investigators are interested," she reported. "They've dealt with similar operations before. Once they connect Lyle's network to known trafficking patterns, they can bring in federal resources." "What about the legal threats?" Harper asked. "Keep copies of everything. Every threatening message helps establish a pattern of intimidation. You didn't steal those puppies, you rescued them from criminal endangerment. The evidence supports that." After ending the call, Harper sat with the puppies while Maria and Lisa finalized their documentation. Bo had grown stronger each day, his eyes brighter, his breathing easier. Finn stood guard while Hazel groomed her recovering brother, their small family unit unshakable. "We won't let him win," Harper promised them softly. "What happened to you wasn't care or protocol. It was cruelty hidden behind paperwork. And we're going to prove it." Harper's hands trembled slightly as she reviewed the message on her phone. One of the shelter volunteers had sent her an urgent text. Another litter of purebred Siberian husky puppies was scheduled for medical review tomorrow morning. The familiar code words made her stomach turn. "Not this time," she muttered, gathering her evidence files and checking the battery on her body camera. The tiny device, borrowed from Lisa, was barely visible beneath her jacket. She patted the puppies goodbye, making sure they were secure in their crate with fresh water and food. The drive to Bramble County Shelter took 20 minutes. Harper's heart pounded harder with each mile marker she passed. The morning sun cast long shadows across the building's faded exterior as she pulled into the nearly empty parking lot. Only 2 cars remained: Lyle's pristine pickup truck and an old sedan she recognized as belonging to the weekend clerk. Taking a deep breath, Harper activated the body camera and grabbed her documentation folder. The shelter's front door chimed as she entered, the sound echoing through the quiet lobby. Behind the desk, the young clerk's eyes widened in recognition. "Miss Ellison, you're not supposed to be here," he stammered. "Mr. Carter said, Where is he? Harper asked firmly, striding past the desk. We need to talk about tomorrow's transfers. You can't go back there. The clerk reached for his phone, but Harper was already pushing through the staff door into the kennel area. The familiar smell of disinfectant and wet concrete filled her nostrils. Dogs barked excitedly as she passed, their tails wagging in desperate hope. At the end of the long corridor, light spilled from an office doorway. Lyle's voice drifted out, discussing arrangements on the phone. Yes, 6 puppies, all cleared for transport. Medical documentation is already prepared. No complications this time. Harper stepped into view, holding up her folder. Actually, there are some complications we need to discuss. Lyle's head snapped up, his face flushing red. I'll call you back, he said into the phone before slamming it down. You're trespassing. Get out before I call the police. Go ahead, Harper challenged, spreading documents across his desk. I'm sure they'd be very interested in these falsified medical records, or these transport logs that don't match your euthanasia reports, or maybe the footage from that trailer where you left Beau to die. Lyle stood slowly, his tall frame casting a shadow over the paperwork. You have no idea what you're dealing with. This is a legitimate shelter operation. Legitimate? Harper's voice rose. You're selling dogs that you've marked as unadoptable. You're falsifying records and pocketing the profits. How many others have you left to die when they couldn't be sold? Something dangerous flashed in Lyle's eyes. He moved suddenly, circling the desk toward her. Harper backed away, maintaining distance as she moved into the kennel area. The dogs fell silent, sensing the tension. You self-righteous little crusader, Lyle snarled, following her. You think you understand how this works? The system is broken. We're drowning in unwanted animals. I found a way to make it sustainable, to keep this place running. By selling dogs to illegal breeders? By condemning the ones who don't make you enough profit? Harper's back hit a kennel gate. She realized too late that she'd let him maneuver her into a corner. Lyle reached past her to slide the main kennel door shut, the lock clicking ominously. You have 2 choices. Walk away now, destroy your evidence, and forget what you've seen. Or ... He stepped closer, using his height to loom over her. Things can get very unpleasant. Accidents happen in shelters all the time. Dogs can be dangerous when frightened. Harper's heart raced, but she forced her voice to stay steady. Everything I have is already backed up. Threatening me won't make this go away. No! Lyle's hand shot out, grabbing her arm roughly. How about I lock you in with our new fighting dog Surrender? See how long your crusade lasts then. The dogs began barking again, their noise covering the sound of the front door opening. Harper twisted away from Lyle's grip, her camera capturing every moment. The state investigators already have copies of everything. They're connecting you to trafficking rings in 3 states. You're lying, Lyle hissed, but uncertainty flickered across his face. He reached for her again, more desperately this time. Step away from her, Mr. Carter. Officer Torres's voice cut through the kennel noise. She stood in the doorway, hand on her weapon, 2 other officers flanking her. Release that door and put your hands where I can see them. The color drained from Lyle's face. He backed away slowly, raising his hands. This is a misunderstanding. She broke in. Save it! Officer Torres interrupted, moving forward to cuff him while her partners checked on Harper. We have enough evidence to start asking some very uncomfortable questions about your operation, starting with where those husky puppies were really headed tomorrow. Harper sagged against the kennel gate, adrenaline leaving her shaky. Through the bars, a warm tongue licked her hand, one of the shelter dogs offering comfort. She managed a small smile, reaching back to scratch its ears. You okay? Officer Torres asked, returning after securing Lyle in her patrol car. Harper nodded, straightening up. Did you get everything? Camera feed came through clear as day. Assault, intimidation, false imprisonment. That's before we even get to the trafficking charges. Torres gestured to the kennel area. We'll need to document everything here. Think you're up for helping us identify which animals were marked for transfer. Harper's fingers trembled as she reached into her back pocket, thankful that Lyle hadn't noticed her phone during their confrontation. While he paced and ranted about his operation, she kept her body angled away, carefully typing out a text message to the police contact number she'd saved earlier. "You think you're so clever," Lyle sneered, running his hands through his grey hair. "But you have no idea how many people depend on this system. The money keeps 3 shelters running." Harper's thumb pressed send. She slipped the phone away, praying the message had gone through. Running on blood money isn't something to be proud of, Lyle. "Pride." He laughed bitterly. "This isn't about pride. It's about survival. Do you know how many animals we'd have to put down without this arrangement? At least this way, some of them have a chance." "A chance at what? Being bred until they break? Being used as bait dogs?" Harper's voice cracked with anger. "You left Bo to die because he wasn't profitable enough." Lyle's face darkened. He stalked toward her again, backing her further into the corner. That runt was taking up space and resources. Sometimes hard choices have to be made. Through the kennel windows, Harper caught a flash of red and blue lights. Relief flooded through her, but she knew she had to keep Lyle distracted. "Is that what you tell yourself to sleep at night? That abandoning sick puppies is just making hard choices? You sanctimonious little—" Lyle's head whipped around at the sound of car doors slamming. His eyes widened in panic. "What did you do?" He lunged for the office door, but Harper stuck out her foot. Lyle stumbled, crashing into a stack of crates. Papers scattered across the floor, transport documents, fake vaccination records, and receipts for cash payments. "Police! Nobody move!" Officers burst through both entrances, weapons drawn. Lyle scrambled to his feet and bolted toward the back exit. He made it 3 steps before Officer Torres tackled him to the ground. The impact sent them both sliding across the concrete floor. "Lyle Carter, you're under arrest," Torres announced, pinning him down with her knee while she cuffed his hands behind his back. "You have the right to remain silent." Harper sagged against the wall, her heart pounding. Another officer approached her with a concerned look. "Ma'am, are you injured? We received your text about being threatened." "I'm okay," she managed, though her arm throbbed where Lyle had grabbed her. "But you need to check the transport van in the back. He was loading it for a delivery tomorrow morning." 2 officers jogged outside. Minutes later, their radios crackled. "Chief, we've got at least 8 crates out here. Multiple puppies. No water, minimal ventilation. Looks like they've been sedated." Lyle struggled against his restraints as they led him past Harper. "You don't understand. The shelter system is broken. Someone had to make it work." "Save it for your lawyer," Torres said firmly, guiding him towards the patrol car. She glanced back at Harper. "We'll need your statement and all the evidence you've collected." Harper nodded, pulling out her phone to show them the recorded confrontation. More officers arrived, along with animal control vehicles and a mobile veterinary unit. The night air filled with the sounds of camera shutters, radio chatter, and barking dogs. As evidence technicians catalogued the scattered documents, one called out, "Chief, we've got payment records here going back 18 months. Multiple buyers, coded locations." He held up a ledger. This could help identify other shelters involved in the network. Harper watched as they loaded the rescued puppies into proper transport vehicles, each one being checked by a vet tech. Her hands still shook, but a sense of fierce satisfaction helped steady her. Years of suspicious deaths, mysterious disappearances, and unexplained transfers would finally be investigated. Officer Torres returned, notebook in hand. "The district attorney is very interested in your documentation. How long have you been building this case?" "Since I found those 3 German Shepherd puppies," Harper explained, wincing as a paramedic examined her bruised arm. "But I think this goes back much further. There's a former employee who can testify about similar incidents from last year." Torres nodded grimly. "We'll need to talk to them. The DA believes we can connect this operation to at least 2 other counties, the payment records alone." She shook her head. "This is going to take months to unravel." Through the window, Harper could see Lyle sitting in the back of the patrol car, his face pale under the flashing lights. His carefully constructed world of profit and corruption was crumbling, exposed by the loyalty of two puppies who refused to abandon their brother. "What happens to the shelter animals now?" Harper asked, watching animal control officers moving through the kennels with fresh water and food. "State oversight will step in temporarily," Torres explained. "Given the evidence of widespread misconduct, they'll probably bring in a new management team entirely." She smiled slightly. "I hear they're always looking for experienced animal advocates to help with the transition." Harper felt tears prick at her eyes as she watched more rescue vehicles arrive. After years of fighting for animals like Bo, justice was finally taking shape. The night was far from over, but at least it had brought the beginning of change. 3 weeks after Lyle's arrest, Harper sat in a stark conference room at the Georgia State Department of Animal Welfare. Photographs and documents covered the table, evidence of years of systematic abuse and trafficking. "And you're certain about the timeline of events that night?" the lead investigator asked, reviewing her notes. Harper nodded, absently rubbing her arm where the bruises had finally faded. "Yes, I found the puppies around 9:30 in the evening. The trailer was clearly being used regularly. There were fresh food bags, multiple crates, and a logbook with delivery dates." She pulled out her phone, showing them photos she'd taken of the hidden facility. The conditions were deplorable. No ventilation, no water. If Finn hadn't kept barking. Her voice caught as she remembered finding Bo barely breathing in that cold metal crate. The investigators leaned forward, examining the images. "Your documentation has been invaluable, Ms. Ellison. Combined with the financial records we seized, we've already identified 3 other shelters involved in this network." Harper's heart ached, thinking of all the animals who hadn't been as lucky as Bo. How many others were there? "We've confirmed at least 68 dogs were processed through Carter's operation in the past year alone. Most were listed as euthanized for medical reasons, but the paperwork was falsified." The investigator's face hardened. The DA is pursuing felony charges. After the meeting, Harper drove to the veterinary clinic where she'd been volunteering. Word of her role in exposing the trafficking ring had spread quickly through the rescue community. Local organizations were already reaching out, asking her to help reform other struggling shelters. In the clinic's play yard, she found Bo romping with his siblings. His transformation was remarkable. The sickly pup was now bright-eyed and energetic, his coat glossy and full. Finn and Hazel bounced around him, their bond unbreakable. Watching them, Harper remembered another dog, a sweet old lab mix, Max. 7 years ago, she'd surrendered him to a city shelter during a housing crisis, promised she could reclaim him in 2 weeks. But when she returned, they claimed he'd been euthanized for aggression. No documentation, no explanation, no chance to say goodbye. "You were the reason, weren't you, buddy?" she whispered as Bo trotted over to nuzzle her hand. "You're why I couldn't walk away." The clinic door opened and Dr. Chen stepped out. "The adoption applications are final. All 3 are going to the same family. They refuse to separate them." She smiled. "You've started something important here, Harper. The State Oversight Committee called. They want your input on new shelter protocols." Harper scratched behind Bo's ears, watching him lean into her touch with complete trust. The pain of losing Max would always be there, but now it drove her forward instead of holding her back. These puppies had shown her that even the smallest voice deserved to be heard, and she intended to keep listening. In a peaceful, sunlit meadow just outside Harper's cozy home, a soft breeze blew through the blades of grass, creating a gentle whisper that seemed to welcome the new beginning. The sun cast a warm glow over the expansive field, painting it in hues of gold and green. It was the perfect day for a special occasion, a day that represented hope and new adventures for all involved. On this beautiful morning, Harper stood smiling, her heart swelling with joy as she watched Finn, Hazel, and Bo frolic freely. They raced in circles, their playful barks echoing around the meadow, each leap and bound a testament to their newfound freedom. For the first time in their short lives, the 3 puppies felt safe. No cages, no cold trailers, just open sky and endless possibilities. Harper watched the puppies joyfully chase butterflies that danced around them. The sight of Bo's little legs moving as fast as they could made her grin wider. He had come so far from that sickly runt taken from his siblings, and now he was part of a family. A family that would always protect and love him. Finn's noble stride and Hazel's gentle nature made them the perfect companions. Together, they were more than just puppies. They were a symbol of resilience, of overcoming darkness to find light. "All right, my brave trio," Harper called out, her voice playful yet filled with warmth. The puppies paused, ears perked as they turned to look at her, awaiting her next move. She knelt down, opening her arms wide. "Come here, you 3, let's celebrate." In a flash, they dashed toward her, their tails wagging furiously. Harper embraced them, laughing as they all tumbled into a messy heap of fur and joy. It felt like a scene from a fairy tale. Happy endings were real, and she was living one. After the playful moment, Harper took a deep breath, feeling the cool, crisp air fill her lungs. The case had closed, and justice was served, but this was just the beginning of her mission. Inspired by the bond she witnessed every day between the puppies, Harper felt driven to become a full-time advocate against the very injustices she had fought so hard to expose. In the following weeks, Harper dove into her new role with passion. She reached out to local and national animal rescue organizations, sharing her story and the puppies' journey. She was invited to speak at conferences and events, where she urged others to join the fight for animal welfare. With each story she shared, more people began to rally behind the cause. On weekends, Harper organized community events, bringing families together to learn about adopting pets and reforming shelters. Finn, Hazel, and Bo accompanied her everywhere. Their playful spirit drew in crowds, capturing the hearts of anyone who came to hear the tales of courage and survival. The puppies soon became local celebrities, their faces and stories shared on social media, spreading hope far and wide. During one event at a local park, Harper set up a booth with information about animal welfare laws and rescue options. Children and adults alike gathered around, drawn in by the puppies' playful antics. She spoke with passion, encouraging everyone to advocate for animals in need. "We can create change," she told the eager listeners. "One voice at a time, we can make sure no puppy is left behind. Let's create a world full of love, not fear." People began bringing their own pets, eager to share their stories. Some had rescued animals, while others had given their hearts to fur babies in need. Harper felt a swell of gratitude, realizing they were all united in a common goal. Together, they could push for better shelter conditions and more humane treatment of animals everywhere. Each day, as they traveled, Finn, Hazel, and Bo became more than just companions. They embodied the strength it took to overcome adversity. With their soft eyes and joyful hearts, they reminded Harper and everyone they met that love could heal even the deepest wounds. The puppies had transformed from mere rescues into powerful advocates for all animals, waiting for their own happy endings. On her journey, Harper met countless individuals who shared their experiences of loss and hope. She learned about more unfortunate cases of neglect and cruelty in rural areas. Each encounter fueled her determination to make a change. "Together, we will reform these shelters," Harper would say with resolve. "Our bond, our strength, it all matters." And so, in the sunlight of that beautiful meadow, on that day precious to them all, Harper officially adopted Finn, Hazel, and Bo. They were no longer orphans of a broken system. They were a beacon of hope, a shining example of what could be achieved when compassion and justice met. This new life was filled with purpose, guiding her and her adorable trio of puppies toward a future where every voice would be heard, and every animal would find the love they deserving. If you believe stories can heal, lift, and connect us, this channel is for you. Thanks for being here. Hit subscribe, and I'll meet you again tomorrow with something real.